Hitler should have died more than once. Not in theory, not in some alternate timeline, but in real moments where everything was already in place. Bombs planted, plans executed, people ready, and yet every single time, something small got in the way. Minutes, movements, mechanical failures.
Self to sound constructive activity as other nations do, or sooner or later it will succumb to a crisis of an inconceivable magnitude. One thing I should like to say on this day, which may be memorable for others as well as for us Germans: in the course of my life, I have very often been a prophet and have usually been ridiculed for it.
Again and again, Adolf Hitler survived. It sounds unreal, but it's true. There were multiple real moments where Adolf Hitler came dangerously close to being stopped, not in some fictional timeline, but right there in history, with everything lined up and ready to go, and somehow it still didn't happen. The wild part isn't just that these attempts failed, it's how insanely close they came, down to minutes, inches, and pure chance flipping the outcome at the last second. Back in 1939, one of the boldest plots was already in motion, set up quietly and patiently by a man named George Elzer. This wasn't rushed or sloppy, this was calculated, detailed, and precise. Elzer spent weeks sneaking into a Munich beer hall, slowly carving out space inside a pillar and building a bomb piece by piece, all while studying Hitler's exact routine like a hawk. He knew where he stood, how long he spoke, every little habit, and he placed that device exactly where it needed to be. Everything was lined up perfectly, no mistakes, no guessing, until the final twist. Hitler suddenly cut his speech short and left early, just 13 minutes before the explosion ripped through the hall. The blast destroyed the room and killed several people, but Hitler was already gone. 13 minutes. That tiny window changed everything in a way that still feels unbelievable. Then jump ahead to 1944, and things got even more intense with what became known as the July 20 plot. A German officer, Klaus von Stauffenberg, walked straight into a meeting carrying a briefcase that held a bomb, fully aware of what was about to happen. He placed it right next to Hitler, close enough to end it right there, then calmly left the room before it detonated. Moments later, boom! The explosion tore through the space, chaos everywhere, exactly as planned. But here's where things took a shocking turn. The briefcase had been nudged slightly out of position, ending up behind a thick table leg. That one tiny shift absorbed much of the blast and reduced its impact. Instead of ending everything, Hitler survived with injuries that, compared to the explosion, were considered minor. One tiny movement, and history stayed on the same path. And it didn't stop there. Another attempt took things to the skies, with a bomb secretly placed on Hitler's plane. Everything seemed flawless. The device was set, the plane took off, climbed higher and higher. It looked like it was only a matter of time. But then, nothing. No explosion, no impact, just silence. The reason? The freezing temperatures at high altitude completely shut the device down, stopping the mechanism from working. Something as simple as pulled air, something no one could control, was enough to cancel out an entire operation that had been carefully planned from the ground up.
Trying to get close through other methods wasn't any easier either. Poisoning, for example, was nearly impossible because of the intense precautions in place. Hitler had food tasters who check every single meal before he ate it, waiting to make sure nothing happened before giving the all clear. That system alone blocked countless ideas before they could even get started, creating a barrier that was hard to break through no matter how determined someone was. And then there were moments that didn't fail because of tools or timing, but because of hesitation. There were individuals who found themselves close enough, in positions where action was possible, where everything was right in front of them, but in those crucial seconds, they paused. Whether it was fear, uncertainty, or the weight of what would follow, that brief hesitation was enough. Just a second or two, and the opportunity slipped away, leaving history unchanged once again. Some plans went even further, involving people willing to risk everything to make sure it worked. These weren't half measures. These were serious attempts designed to get as close as possible, removing any doubt about the outcome. But once again, timing stepped in and flipped the script. Hitler's schedule would suddenly shift, meetings would change, locations would move, and just like that, the entire setup would fall apart before it could even begin. It became a repeating pattern, careful preparation, constantly undone by unpredictable changes that no one could fully control. By the time 1945 came around, everything had collapsed. Hitler had retreated into the Führer bunker beneath Berlin, cut off from the outside as the situation closed in from all sides. At that point, there were no more near misses, no more last-second changes, no more chances for another attempt. After surviving so many situations through timing, circumstance, and human decisions, the end came differently, inside that bunker, as defeat became unavoidable. When you step back and look at all these moments together, a clear pattern starts to show. This wasn't just one failed attempt. It was a chain of events where the smallest details kept shaping massive outcomes. A speech ending early, a briefcase shifting position, freezing temperatures stopping a device, a split-second hesitation. Each one seems minor on its own, but together they had a huge impact on how history unfolded. And that's the part that really sticks with you. It's not just what happened, it's how easily things could have gone another way. Because if even one of those moments had played out differently, the world today could look very different.
What that I have advocated for you in these years, I have spent my time in service of my people. Now cast your vote. Stand up for me as I have stood up for you.